My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are looking at 1 Corinthians 15 and how Paul expressed the reality that the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be in fulfillment of God's Old Covenant promises made to Old Covenant Israel, and specifically the promise made in Isaiah chapter 25. In the last video, and please be sure to watch the last video, and the correlation between Isaiah 25, Matthew 8, and 1 Corinthians 15. Now look, Jesus, in Matthew chapter 8, verse 11, said, "Many will come from the east and the west, and shall sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom, and the sons of the kingdom shall be cast out." Now let's make no mistake, the sons of the kingdom were Old Covenant Israel. That is, how could we get anything else out of the chronological setting of Matthew chapter 8? But here's what I want you to see, all right? What Jesus was talking about in Matthew chapter 8, verse 11, is the Messianic kingdom resurrection banquet. It's the wedding banquet. And let me state this again. This is universally acknowledged in virtually all of the ancient Jewish commentaries on Isaiah chapter 25. All right? Isaiah 25 verse 6 is looked upon and viewed as the Messianic wedding banquet. It's the restoration of Israel. This is a common theme. So Isaiah 25 verse 6 is the Messianic resurrection wedding banquet. Matthew chapter 8 is the time of the fulfillment of that Messianic resurrection wedding banquet, because it's the time when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would sit down in the kingdom. Well, Isaiah 25 verse 6 is the time of that banquet at the time of the kingdom, when Yahweh would rule gloriously from Zion, Isaiah 24:20 and following. The correlations here are absolutely perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you absolutely have to catch this. In my last video, again, be sure to watch it, I pointed out how Joel McDermott, Kenneth Gentry, Gary DeMar, and a host of other dominionists agree and admit and teach that Matthew chapter 8 verse 11 was fulfilled in AD 70 when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sat down in the kingdom, and Old Covenant Israel, I'm using the word Israel in its broad sense, was cast out. That means the resurrection of Isaiah 25 is fulfilled. But if the resurrection of Isaiah 25 is fulfilled, that means the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 is fulfilled. And what that means, unequivocally, undeniably, and irrefutably. Now follow me here, folks. If Isaiah 25, verse 6, the resurrection kingdom banquet, would be fulfilled, Matthew 8, verse 11, when the sons of the kingdom are cast out, and if that was fulfilled in AD 70, then let me reiterate, that means the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 is fulfilled. McDermott, Gentry, et al. Admit Matthew 8 was fulfilled in AD 70. That means the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 was fulfilled at that time. I know this sounds repetitious, but I've got to drive this point home. And do you know what that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt? It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, number one, the intermediate state of the dead has been overcome, ended. Death and Hades have been overcome. Revelation chapter 20, 10 and following. It means that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were resurrected. But it means that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, guess what, folks? Is it not real obvious that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were not raised out of dirt? Their biologically decomposed bodies were not reconstructed, recomposed, raised, and revived. And yet here is Gentry and DeMar and McDermott, all of whom saying, well, yes, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sit down at the kingdom in fulfillment of Matthew 8 in AD 70. And look, folks, many amillennialists likewise admit that Matthew chapter 8, verse 11 was fulfilled in AD 70. Let me make this as simple as possible. You cannot admit that Matthew chapter 8, verse 11 was fulfilled in AD 70 and still maintain a futurist view of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Let me give you the chain again. 1 Corinthians 15, the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be in fulfillment of Isaiah 25, verses 6 to 8. At the time of the Messianic kingdom resurrection banquet. Isaiah 25, verse 6, the Messianic resurrection kingdom banquet would be fulfilled when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sit down in the kingdom. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would sit down in the kingdom when the sons of the kingdom were cast out in AD 70. Therefore, Isaiah 25 would be fulfilled in AD 70. Therefore, the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be and was fulfilled in AD 70. I'm sorry, folks. You just cannot admit that Paul said Isaiah would be fulfilled, or the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be the fulfillment of Isaiah 25. Because the fulfillment of Isaiah 25 would be when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sit down in the kingdom, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sit down in the kingdom when the old covenant sons of the kingdom were cast out. That was in AD 70. And yes, we've got a whole lot more on the resurrection banquet of AD 70. And boy, do we have more on this messianic resurrection wedding banquet on the flip side. We'll see you there.